Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayom Vishnupat Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtota Shri Srimad Abhay Charanavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupat Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Ashtota Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakanda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki taking over the word with Sri Prabhupada stands in the book distribution and Daivarnashram farm communities Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we're doing the Krishna book reading, right? And I was thinking we'll read from Krishna book, chapter 23, and we'll start off from the paragraph it says, when the boys saw that the Brahmanas would not reply. I don't know if you could find that. Yeah, you could just do Command F or whatever, Control F, and just type, when the boys saw that the Brahmanas would not reply. Or you can keep going and then I can tell you where. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So, when the boys saw that the Brahmanas would not reply to them, even with a simple yes or no, they became very much disappointed. They then returned to Lord Krishna and Balaram and explained everything that had happened. After hearing their statement, the Supreme Personality of Godhead smiled. He told them that they should not be sorry for being refused by the Brahmanas, because that is the way of begging. He convinced them that when one is engaged in collecting or begging, should not think that he will be successful everywhere. He may be unsuccessful in some places, but that should not be a cause for disappointment. Lord Krishna then asked all the boys to go again. but this time to the wives of the Brahmanas engaged in sacrifices. He also informed them that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food in my name and in the name of Balaram, and I am sure that they will deliver you as much food as you desire. Om Agyana Timiranthasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyutafada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sandubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishamebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamaniti Namine Harijanagana Badi Gnana Karmandahari Prakatita Parabhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinaya Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Mede Ragamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamaniti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyati Deshtarine Vagishaya Sivadane Lakshmi Yasa Shivakshasi Yasyasa Hidaya Samvitam Rasamham Aham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karti Vachalam Pangum Langaite Girim Yat Kripata Maham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So Brigapati Prabhu said that I could read from any section of the Christian book and speak about it, and then we go along. It's a little freestyle class. So I thought when you told me about this, Prabhu, I thought I'll read this section of the Christian book, because the first time, it's amazing when we read Srila Prabhupada's books all the time. They're always amazing. But I never forget the first time I ever read the Christian book. It's very special because you have no idea what's going to happen next. You have no idea what's going to happen when you read the Bhagavatam. For me, one thing, I read the Bhagavad Gita, but I was just so intoxicated, to be honest, that it just went just above my head. But then when I started practicing the 4 regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds, the chapter in the Bhagavatam which hit me the hardest was the second chapter of the first canto, Divinity and Divine Service. I mean, my God, that chapter is amazing. And then I remember reading the Krishna book, and I read all the way up to this point, page 184, and it was awesome, it was great. But it didn't penetrate to me the way this did, because we were distributing books in New York, and so many exalted Vaishnavas here and Vaishnavis. How many of you distribute books in New York City? Of course, Brigapati Prabhu, Shwas Prabhu. That's like Naikatma Prabhu. Okay, so I'm part of the gang. So I distribute books in New York, and back then y'all would distribute books in Penn Station, right, and Port Authority bus station. I guess everywhere. For me, the hardest place distributing books in New York was Grand Central subway station. Those are it's the worst. The most puffed up guys in New York I found, at least, was in Grand Central subway. It took me 8 days to crack a Saptarishi set on these people. But eventually I was able to crack through. But when that happened, and I was trying my best to do it, because I was able to distribute these sets of books in Union Square, Times Square, Jackson Heights, Port Authority, 34th Street, Penn Station, all these places. But I wasn't able to go through with Grand Central because it was the hardest. So that time, the best thing to do when books aren't going out is you read the books, and then you get more inspired to distribute the books. So that time, I read this section of the Christian book. I just happened to, I guess the page was folded or whatever it was at that time, sometime around then. And then I saw this. Krishna is giving personal instruction to book distributors over here. And and that time I realized that this is what it means. Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. So that means Krishna is supremely personal with everyone. He's a supreme person. Person means personality. And people who are personal, they take genuine care for every living entity. right? That's what it means to be a person. That's what it means to be personal. So when I read this, I thought Krishna is really God, because he's in my heart and he knows I'm suffering out here in Grand Central Subway, because it was really tough. It was really hard. I was unable to do it for some time. And then when I read this, then it kind of helped me understand that, wait a minute, you should be a little detached. And I realized that the more I was trying to be attached to the result of these people taking the books from me, the more Krishna was trying to show me that you're not the controller. I am the controller. I am the controller, not you, me. Because when you start distributing books and Krishna gives you His mercy, you can get into people's minds and just say, oh, you need these books. No, you need them, and then you just make him take the books. But it didn't happen. I say, what's going on? I must not be chanting enough japa. What, like, am I eating too many sweets? Like, what's going on? But I thought, okay, I just gotta look. Krishna's saying it right here. He says that he told them that one should not be sorry for being refused by the brahmanas, because that is the way of begging. He convinced them that one who is engaged in collecting or begging should not think that he will be successful everywhere. You're not going to break the world record every day. He may be unsuccessful in some places, but that should not be the cause of disappointment. So when I read this, it really hit me hard, because for me, when I was issuing books, if someone gave me a big donation, I would not be like super ecstatic, like, dude, yeah, I'm the man. But when people would not take books and it would happen constantly, I would get so disappointed. That it was crushing for me, because I have to be successful. If I'm not successful, I'm doing something wrong. When Krishna is stating it right, and when I read this, then there's even I don't know if it's a Christian saying or whatever, but there's a saying of let go and let God. Right? Have you heard this from before? Let go and let God. I thought, all right, I'm not going to be the controller. I just have to get out of the way. And then after that, that's when I was able to start distributing sets, even in Grand Central. So when I read this was amazing. And then I continue to read. Krishna goes on to say, Lord Krishna then asked all the boys to go again, but this time to the wives of those brahmanas engaged in sacrifices. He also informed them that these wives were great devotees. They are always absorbed in thinking of us. Go there and ask for some food in my name and in the name of Balaram, and I am sure that they will deliver you as much food as you desire. And then when I read the next part, and then again I was contemplating on it, because my Guru Maharaj, he said, hearing with contemplation leads to realization. So when we hear from Srila Prabhupada and we contemplate on what Srila Prabhupada is saying, that leads to realization. That leads to realization. So hearing from Prabhupada, and one thing which I really like to do, and somehow or the other, Krishna has saved this special nectar for us. On YouTube, if you type Srila Prabhupada reading Krishna book, there's recordings of Srila Prabhupada reading the Krishna book. And listening to, it's really ecstatic to listen to Srila Prabhupada and read the book, because it's a what's it called, audio book, isn't it? So it's called audio book. So it's like Prabhupada was ahead of the time as usual, and we have the Krishna book audio books by Srila Prabhupada himself. So when I was listening, and I listened to it, and I was contemplating upon this, and then later on I realized that Krishna sends you the people. When the people who buy books from you, Krishna sends them to you. If your desires are aligned with His, Krishna sends you the right people at the right time. And then when we do so, then we understand, okay, Krishna is the one who's actually sending the people. And we should never discriminate between who will and who will not take it. There's no saying. Sometimes you can look at a person and you'll be like, this guy is definitely buying a book, and they don't end up buying a book. And then someone who looks like they're just completely broke and homeless, they may come and end up buying a Bhagavatam set from you. I remember once a homeless guy came up to me. I was thinking, dude, should I really waste my time with this guy? He's obviously homeless. But then I stuck with it, shown in the Bhagavatam, and he pulled out $300 crisp $100 bills, 3 of them. And he bought a Bhagavatam. I was thinking, this is inconceivable. Krishna is sending the people. Where did you get? I didn't want to ask him where he got the money from. Hey, look, none of my damn business. That's what I learned in New York. In New York, I learned mind your own business because you got your own business to mind. That's so I didn't ask him where he got the money from. Like, thank you so much. I gave him the Bhagavatam. How are you going to carry it? He's a big dude from Atlanta. Just kept it like as he's Hanuman, kept it like this, and just started walking away. So you never know, but this it really comes to life. Especially when you distribute Prabhupada's books, the purpose come to life, right? It hits you hard, and it hits you in a completely different way. And it's always when I read Prabhupada's purpose, when I read sections of Srila Prabhupada's books, it's just so obvious that he's Trikala Gyan. He knows past, present, and future, because he's tapped into Krishna. He's completely tapped into the desires of Krishna. And every word, every syllable that Prabhupada is writing, it's just he's thinking about how it's going to change the lives of all living entities. And he's such a great mystic yogi that mystic yogis, they can just expand themselves into 8 forms. But Prabhupada has expanded himself into literally unlimited forms in the form of his books. He's able to do so. And he's giving a class, and you listen to the class, and it's exactly the right thing at the right time and the right. You can't make this up. Krishna has inspired his pure devotee to say something, to write something exactly in the right time. And when I read this, I remember I was 19 or 20 years old, my body, whatever it was. I don't know, this is amazing, man. Like, how did Prabhupada know this? Krishna says, Vedaham samatitani, vartamanani charjana, bhavishyani chabhutani, mam tu vedana kashana. He says that, I know past, present, and future, Krishna says, and by his mercy, even the pure devotees, they know. And pure devotee, and for example, on a material perspective, right, we read in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Purushav prakriti stohi bhunkter prakriti jan gunan karanam guna sangasya sad sangosya sad asat yoni janmashu. Then living entities come into different bodies, sometimes as male, sometimes as female, and they associate with the Purushav prakriti bhunkter prakriti jan gunan. They come to try to exploit the material nature, but they do not know they're suffering. Why? Karanam, reason, guna, modes of material nature. Sangosya, like we say sadhu sangha, here there is guna sangha. They're associating with the material modes. Sadasad yoni janmashu, therefore they get different births and activities. So if a person is actually qualified and he's a good astrologer, he can understand the permutations and combinations of the modes of material nature, and he could tell you, hey, like, this happened to you when you were 5 years old, this happened to you when you were 10 years old, this happened to you when you're 20, and when you're 35, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, that's going to happen. And you know, whoa, how does this guy know? But it's a science, and you can know it. But for great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, yasyasi bhaktir bhagavata kinchana, sarvai gunai satra samasate suraha. So, those people who are great devotees, yasyasi bhaktir bhagavata kinchana, they who are unflinching devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sarvai gunai satra samasate suraha. They have all the good qualities of the demigods, and Yamaraj is one of the demigods. Yamaraj Prabhupada writes, he is empowered by the Supreme Personality of God. He writes this in the 6th canto where the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas have their debate and the Yamadutas are smashed. There, Prabhupada writes that Yamaraj, he is blessed with the potency of the Supreme of being omniscient. Yamaraj has that. So we can see when we read Srila Prabhupada's books, he is giving us the right instructions which we need. That's why Chaitanya Charitamrita also says, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sangha, Krishna Me Prema Mukhyantare Hoi Mukhya Anga. That Krishna Prema Janmantare, I'm forgetting the last line, but the whole reason, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula, the whole reason of the cause of the birth, or you could say birth or appearance of devotion, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hai Sadhu Sangha, the reason is association with the sadhus. And even when you get advanced in Krishna consciousness, still when you even attain prema, still sadhu sangha is still the most important thing. So we can understand that. So when a devotee who's a neophyte reads Prabhupada's books, he thinks, wow, this is amazing. When a devotee is advanced and he reads Prabhupada's books, they think that this is amazing. These books can give you Krishna prema. They absolutely can. That's why Prabhupada said, if you simply read the books that I've given you, you can certainly go back home, back to Godhead. Prabhupada has said these points many, many times. At that time, when he told this Yamuna Mataji, there was just a Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, in the Krishna book. Prabhupada said, if you simply read these 4 books, you can go back home, back to Godhead. And we can see that Prabhupada himself liked to relish reading the Christian books so much that Shrita Kirti Prabhu says so many times he saw Srila Prabhupada reading his own Christian book. So then he asked Srila Prabhupada, why are you reading your own books? Prabhupada told him, because Krishna asked me to write these books. And when I read this, I realized, and Prabhupada memories has been part of my, roti, dal, sabji, khichdi, and Prabhupada memories. It's part of the lunch prasad time, lunch prasad sadhana for me. So when I heard this, I thought like, wow, Krishna told Prabhupada this, and that's why he wrote it. That's why he wrote these books. I mean, it's all in here. It's all amazing. And then now we can go on. The next part is even more amazing. Carrying out Krishna's order, the boys immediately went to the wives of the Brahmanas. They found the wives sitting inside the Brahmana's house. They were beautifully decorated with ornaments. And offering them all respects, the boys said, "Dear mothers, please accept our humble obeisances and hear our statement. May we inform you that Lord Krishna and Balaram are nearby. They have come here with the cows, and you may know also that we have come here under their instructions. All of us are very hungry. Therefore, we have come to you for some food. Please give us something to eat for Krishna, Balaram, and ourselves." So this is so amazing. So you just listen to the order of Krishna, and you do what Krishna says, and then it'll happen. And when I read this, I thought, isn't this how the Christian book came into being? Then Srila Prabhupada was with Shyamasundar Prabhu, and he told Shyamasundar Prabhu, "I want you to go and ask George Harrison for money to print this Krishna book to give to Dine Upon." And Shyamasundar Prabhu didn't want to do it because he didn't want George to think that these are the people who are after me for money. He didn't want them to think like that. He didn't want. So then Shyamasundar Prabhu was like, "Oh, I don't want to do it, but Prabhupada asked me to do it. Prabhupada asked me to do it. Prabhupada asked me to do it." So then he carried out the order of Srila Prabhupada, and when the time was right, according to what he thought, he told Shyamasundar Prabhu told George Harrison, George, and Shyamasundar Prabhu says in Prabhupada memories again, he says, "The Swami asked me to ask you." He asked me, it's not me, the Swami asked me to ask you to if you could sponsor the printing of the Krishna book. And then Shyamasundar Prabhu says he saw the look on George's face that here again these people are, they just finally all this has come so they can just ask some money from me. And he had that look on his face. And right when he saw that, lightning hit his house, and all the lights went out, and there was just pitch silence. And then a few minutes later, the power came back, and then George looks at Shyamasundar Prabhu and says, "I guess you can't argue with that." And he had a big smile on his face, and he printed the Krishna book. So same thing is happening. I mean, you just see how much in line Srila Prabhupada is with Krishna's desires. That we can see carrying out Krishna. They carried out Krishna's orders, and they said this was going to happen. Another thing we can see that you were telling us this in Krishna Life, Prabhu Prabhu, that Srila Prabhupada was in India with Hansaduta Prabhu, and he wanted Hansaduta Prabhu to go and be a life member. He was in the life member project, and then he told Hansaduta Prabhu, "Look, you go up to these people and you say this, this, and this, and the person will immediately pull out a checkbook and write a check." So then the first day passed, and he asked him, "Did you do it?" He said, "No." And then he said, "Listen, go up to this person and say this, this, and this, and then he's going to pull out a checkbook and write you a check." And second day, "Did you do it?" "No, Srila Prabhupada." Third day, "Did you do it?" And Prabhupada said, "You do this, this, and this, he'll write you a check." Third day, "Did you do it?" "No, Srila Prabhupada." And he said, "Why aren't you doing it?" And he said, "You see, he speaks Hindi and this and that and this." And Prabhupada said, "Take a translator with you, but you just go this and this." Hansaduta Prabhu thought like, "Oh my God, I can't have Prabhupada keep doing this the whole time." So he actually went and did it, and he went up to the guy, and he said this, this, and this, and the guy pulls out his check and writes up a check and gives it to him. And he goes and does it again. And he says this, this, and this, pulls out his check and gives it to him. And he said, "Oh no, Prabhupada, I'm amazed. It's actually working. What you said works." And Prabhupada, of course, I mean, it's Prabhupada. He's saying this. My only thing is, I wish I knew what the this, and this was, because that would be very helpful. You go up to someone and say, this, and this. They pull out a checkbook and buy all of Srila Prabhupada's books from me. Boom. I wish I knew what that was, but, I don't have the qualification. Hopefully in the future. But we can see that it's the same. If you listen to the order of the spiritual master, if you would listen to the order of the spiritual master, you are safe. You are safe. Immediately upon hearing this, the wives of the Brahmanas became anxious for Krishna and Balaram. Sarvasya chaham hidi sanivishto matasmita jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna is present within the heart of all living entities. And the minute you ask them to buy the books from you, or you ask them for a big donation, he can make them anxious, thinking, oh my God, where's my checkbook right now? Let me take out my wallet. How much do you want? Krishna can give them that anxiety. Krishna can give them the anxiety, right? These reactions were spontaneous. They did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. Immediately upon hearing their names, they became very eager to see them. Being advanced by thinking of Krishna constantly, they were performing the greatest form of mystic meditation. All the wives then became very busily engaged in filling up different pots with nice, very palatable, with nice food. Due to the performance of the sacrifice, the various foods were very palatable. After collecting a feast, they prepared to go to Krishna, their most beloved object, exactly in the way that the rivers flow to a sea. This is the constitution position of every living entity. Jive Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tatrashta Shakti Beda Bed Prakash. That the living entities' constitution position is to be a servant to Krishna. And Krishna Tatrashta Shakti, because the living entities, at least in the material world, with the exception of great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, Tatrashta Shakti, then they can either lean towards the material energy or they can lean towards the spiritual energy. And when I was reading this, I was really thinking, wow, this is Prabhupada is talking about book distribution here. This is amazing. Because depending, if you really desire, like Krishna, I'm not going to enjoy this result of this person buying a Bhagavatam set. I'm not going to enjoy the result of this person buying a Chaitanya Charitamrita set. I'm not going to enjoy this result of people buying the Saptarishi sets. This is for you. Idam Vishnave, idam na mama. This is for Vishnu, this is not for me. Idam Gurave, idam na mama. This is for the Guru, this is not for me. So, when that mentality, and it's something that at least I should remind myself over and over again, because I'm always trying to be the competitor of Krishna instead of being the servant of Krishna. It's embarrassing to state this, but I'm in the assembly of the Vaishnavas in front of their lordships. I'm wearing a Brahmin thread and wearing a saffron cloth, I can't lie. I always have my own God project going on until I read Prabhupada's books and then, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not God. Remember you failed 20 million times already? Yeah, that's right. So this time, this one life, try not to be the competitor of God. So and we can see that they immediately go. And we can see Prabhupada is saying over here, they do not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. And we see that sometimes, I remember we were shooting books. Where were we that suffering tattoo convention where it was just completely dead? Was it Orlando? Oh my God. That convention center is like almost cursed. That every time we set up a booth there, there's never so many people. So I was just there, I was thinking, dude, like I'm here, I've been here for 3 hours, I met 4 guys in the past 3 hours, and they were all tattoo artists, and at the end of the day, we'll think about it, like, are you Indians? Why are you saying the same thing the Indians say? What's going on? And I was thinking, dude, like, what's going to happen? All right, so what to do? Chanting japa. All right, I was reading, I said, you know what, there's one guy walking by, and I was just so, like, fried out. I didn't think of any line. I just started telling everyone I went by, my man, I like that. Do you remember that? My man, I like that. And then, everyone's like reciprocating. They're like, wow, you like this? Exactly. That's what I like. My man, I like that. You like this band? Exactly, bro. That's like the best band ever. Give me some. And I told this guy, my man, I like that. And he said, wow, nice. And he said, my head. I said, dude, yeah, my man, I like that. And then he came by. I showed him the Bhagavatam. I showed him the painting. Within 30 seconds, he said, man, you guys are nice people. I'm going to buy this. How much is it? 300. Take 315, man. Boom. I think, wow. He didn't have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna and Balaram. It didn't have. It's like this random white dude, doing tattoos on people, on gangsters with like, I got blood, I got this, how many brothers I killed, he's doing, and all of a sudden this dude was like, yeah, man, you know what, yeah, all right, I'll buy. You guys are nice people, I'll buy in. Remember, 30 seconds. That was just 30 seconds. It was 30 seconds. Wow, this is amazing. And then we happened to sell a few more Bhagavatam sets, and it's all's well that ends well. Did I say it right? Okay. All's well that ends well. Okay, Hari Bol, it all happened. But they did not have to be convinced of the importance of Krishna. Immediately upon touching the Srimad Bhagavatam, this person's life just changed. Why? Because Prabhupada's book, I realize that Prabhupada's books are not just, it's not just ink on paper. It's not like some mundane literature that, once a news reporter from New York Times, we were listening to this in yesterday's Amarendra Prabhu's Memories of Srila Prabhupada. News reporter from New York Times came to Srila Prabhupada and said, oh yeah, we're printing so many newspapers, this and that. And Prabhupada said, yes, I have seen your newspaper, it's this thick. But my question is, what do people do after they're done reading it? They throw it in the trash. But then, that's when the new Macmillan Bhagavad Gita came out, the big one, the big Macmillan Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada kept his hand on his Bhagavad Gita and said, but these books, people buy once and they keep it forever. So we can see that Prabhupada's book is not just ink on paper. By Prabhupada's devotion, his devotion is, Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion that the nature of devotion is Krishna akarshani sacha, that it is very attractive to Krishna, and devotion in itself. Sarasi ja nayane sa shanka chakre, or Sarasi ja, the lotus-eyed goddess of devotion, which is present in the heart of the devotees, attracts Krishna himself. So Prabhupada makes a very amazing statement in the Nectar of Devotion where he says that Bhakti is so amazing that she even controls the Supreme Lord himself, controlling the Supreme Controller. Therefore, even a small boy like Raghunandan Thakur, we just had his appearance recently, his father asked him to offer bhoga to Krishna. He said, my dear son, make sure Krishna eats. He said, all right then. And then the father went out and there was a plate of bhoga, and he rang the bell and prayed to Krishna, eat. And the bhoga was still on the plate. Like, why aren't you eating? It's nice. You eat it. Eat it. And he was like, Krishna, please eat it. And Krishna, I guess this kid doesn't get it. He doesn't know Angana, yes, Akalendri, everything. He doesn't know that verse. So then he's like, all right. And then he eats the whole plate. And then okay, great. And then he comes back, and then the father is like, all right, where's the prasad? He said, what prasad? Krishna ate the whole thing. And he thought, okay, this kid is lying to me. Right? Raghunandan Thakur is lying to me. Wait, come on, where is the prasad? Krishna ate it. He said, you know what, make another offering. So then he's hiding behind, seeing what's going on. And then he sees Krishna is eating what this son is offering. And then Krishna eats half a laddu, and then he notices that Raghunandan's father is watching, and he just becomes frozen like that. The deity is still there in India. And then he faints in ecstasy, thinking, oh my God, this guy is a pure devotee. This is my son. That's amazing. So Krishna is completely controlled by devotion of the devotee. So by Prabhupada's devotion to Krishna, these books are not ordinary. Krishna has come, and Krishna is personally present. Krishna is personally present in every drop of ink in Srila Prabhupada's books, and also the white space that's between the letters, and anything else that is not visible to our mundane eyes. These books are infused with Krishna. They're infused with the presence of not just Krishna, Srimati Radharani. And you read the Bhagavatam, all the devotees that are there, right? Suta Goswami, the sages of Naimisharanya, Vyasadev, Parikshit Maharaj, Bhishma, everyone is present in Prabhupada's books. And I was reading that, I think, dude, this is completely far out. Right? I want to read these two sections, these two paragraphs. For a long time, the wives had been eager to see Krishna. However, when they were preparing to leave home to go see him, their husbands, fathers, sons, and relatives asked them not to go. But the wives did not comply. When a devotee is called by the attraction of Krishna, he does not care for bodily ties. That's why we can see some people like, you're talking about the guy, just yesterday, was it day before yesterday, we were distributing Bhagavatams, and then this one guy, he was there and he was getting mental about taking the Bhagavatam. So when people get mental about taking the Bhagavatam in a parking lot, we tell them, let me show you your car. Where is your car? Let me show you your car. And then they start getting confused, like, what? you want to show me my car? Yeah, let me show you your car. Where is your car? And they said, okay. And then we show them their car. And I said, okay, open up your trunk. Because I can't show you this in the car. I have to show it to you in your car. And we keep the Bhagavatam in the trunk. And then, we start telling them the Bhagavatam. And then this dude would jump by his family, like the whole family. No, we can't take this and that. There is no room. And the guy just like shoves all the groceries aside. The Rishi Kumar Prabhu was telling, this happened to him. He shoved all the groceries aside. He put the Bhagavatam in his car. And the entire family was going at him. And he was like, how much is it? And then we pulled up. He gave $310. How much? What was that? He gave what? $275. He immediately gave it, and he fought like, we're like, Jai, this guy is, he's like, the wife, the brother-in-law, the sister-in-law, I don't know if they were the kids, but they were all like jumping on this guy. But he was like, I'm getting the Bhagavatam, bro. And then he got it. What a Maharati. He did it. My God, so many times he did shooting books, and the wife just looks at the guy like whatever, some dumb look, like, oh, something stupid. And the guy's like, oh, sorry, bro, I can't take it. Like, what happened? What happened, dude? Like, you and me hit it off, and it was like we had a nice bro time. We're going to buy the books, about to take out your wallet, and your wife just made like a stupid sound, or like something stupid sound, and looked at you like, and then what happened, bro? Like, this is crazy. But this was not subtle, like they all like jumped on the dude, but he bought the Bhagavatam. Good for him. At least, whenever either the wife dies or the husband dies, the relationship is over. But his relationship with Prabhupada's books are eternal. Sa nitya nitya sambandha prakritasya paraivasa. That the relationship, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur translates this verse. There's a bond of eternal kinship between the Supreme Lord and the Jiva. Eternal kinship. So now, when he bought the Bhagavatam, that is rekindled. And initially he was saying, oh, I can't take the Bhagavatam, this and that. And we tell him, you know what, Prabhu, we will give you the small Bhagavatam. Oh, small Bhagavatam? All right, I'll take the small Bhagavatam. And then we give him the same books we were showing him. But it was the small Bhagavatam anyway. So we see, the women entered the forest of Vrindavan on the bank of the Yamuna, which was verdant with vegetation and newly grown vines and flowers. Within the forest, they saw Krishna and Balaram engaged in tending the cows with their very affectionate boyfriends. The Brahmana's wife, this was my favorite paragraph actually. The Brahmana's wife saw Krishna with a blackish complexion wearing a garment that glittered gold. He was also painted with minerals found in Vrindavan, and he looked like a dancing actor on a theatrical stage. They saw him resting one hand on the shoulder of his friend, and in the other hand he was holding a lotus flower. His ears were decorated with lilies. He wore marks of tilak, and he was smiling charmingly. With their eyes, the wives of the Brahmanas saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of whom they had heard so much, who was so dear to them, and in whom their minds were always absorbed. Now they saw him eye to eye and face to face, and Krishna entered within their hearts through their eyes. That's amazing. That's so amazing. Within themselves, they began to embrace Krishna to their heart's content, and the distress of separation mitigated immediately. So we can say, this is so amazing. Prabhupada has given us everything. So by doing this, by performing the Sankirtan Yajna, everyone can perform it. You don't need to be a brahmachari. You don't need to be a fanatic like myself, Rishi Kumar Prabhu, Srivas Prabhu, Padi Prabhu. We are in the same, we can't but do it. But what you could do is you could keep a small book in your pocket, right? This pocket, I did it. Is there a small book handy? Anyone has it in the bag? Anyone know? But we can see a small book. No, Prabhu, no. Don't know. It's okay. You can keep a small book in your pocket right here. It fits in the pocket. And for the Madhajis, I've never seen a woman without a bag. Like what? No, what's it called? Purse? Whatever it's called. They always have one. They can keep more books than men. Right? You can keep one small book in your pocket and make it a part of your sadhana to distribute that one book every day. 16 rounds, 4 regulative principles, and at least one book. One book, everyone can do one book. One book a day keeps Maya away. Sometimes not, but anyway, you should still do it. I don't know, a good time. But at least one small book every day. Anyone can give you $1. A homeless guy can give you $1. Remember last Janmashtami, were you with me? Oh, it was Giri and I. We were shooting books in New Jersey. And what I love to do on Janmashtami is just distribute books until there's no one left on the street, or distribute books until, you're the last man standing or whatever. So we distributed books and distributing books until midnight. And then while I was distributing books, I saw this huge black homeless guy. He was like walking, like he's looking for trouble, And then he was so sweaty, he had $1 stuck to his forehead. I was thinking, dude, welcome to New Jersey, brother. I was thinking, wow, this guy is walking with $1 bill stuck on his forehead. He was walking by. I just we were all like, dude, this guy is gonna come and fight with us or whatever. I looked at him like, yo, my dude. He looked at me and said, give me that $1. I said, what? I said, oh, give me that $1, bro. And he looked at me and said, you gotta take it. I said, nah. I said, give it. And then he was like, all right. And then he took it out. And then I had like I made a room in my fanny pack. I said, drop it in here, brother. And he dropped it, and I gave him the small book, and the guy, he got up. He bought Prabhupada's books on Janmashtami, looking completely crazy, right? But he bought a perfection. You're like, yo, dude, give it to me, right? I said, give it to me, bro. I didn't say, give it to me, bro. And he was like, all right, this guy's not going to be intimidated by me. I thought, like, if this guy even, like, punched me with 10% strength, I'll be knocked out. Whole Prabhupada Vyasa Puja, I'm going to be like, dude, like, where am I? But he bought the book. It was awesome. So anyone can keep a small book in their pocket and do it. You can just stand outside this temple and do your one book for the day and just say, all right, Haribol, done. But get started. Everyone's got to do it sometime. So I'll end the class here. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I don't know if there's time for questions or comments. If there are, we can take them. Yeah, there are. So if there's any questions or comments, we can. Oh, yes. Whoa, Ravindranath Prabhu. Yes. Wow, this is a treat already.
Yeah, you mentioned about if you simply read these 4 books, you'll go back to Godhead. Could you give me a reference for that, please?
Yeah, I could. It's in Prabhupada Memories, and actually there is a letter. Oh yeah, actually there is a letter. Srila Prabhupada writes, if you simply read, it's in. This is my request. Do we have this here? Because this letter was a very monumental letter in my life. There's a letter which says, if people were simply to read Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Devotion, Krishna book, and Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, they will certainly go back home, back to Godhead. There is a letter. It is in this book. This is my request. You can just flip through it and find it. And then that's when I read this. That's when I got the idea of the Saptarishi set from. So I thought, you know what? Okay, these 4 books, Prabhupada wants people to read it. So let me just inject the Bhagavatam 1.1 because that book changed my life. And then I just did the math, and all of it came to $24.36 after shipping. So I thought, okay, people can give me $50, right? So then we got these 5 books, including the Bhagavatam 1.1, and then the Journey of Self-Discovery and the Science of... Do you remember, Prabhu, receiving that big order from us in 2017 or something, when we thought of the Saptarishi set? And then, I read that, and then everyone was telling me, no one's going to give you $50. No one's going to give you $50. And the more they said it, I thought, I want to show this guy. And then I remember I was doing it, and every time I was approaching someone, they were not taking, the devotees were like, oh, I told you. I'm like, bro, are you my friend or what are you, man? But anyway, and then when the guy the Mataji, I'll never forget. I remember her. I remember what she was wearing. I didn't ask for her name, but I remember what she was wearing. She bought the Saptarishi. She said, I felt like I conquered an empire, But this letter is real because it gave birth to the Saptarishi set. So I could show it to you, and this is my request.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for everything you said. I think it was remarkable. I wanted to make a comment regarding everything you just said, because I think it's very important. Like when I was sitting there, at some point I caught the wrong air and my foot started falling asleep, the right one. It was kind of like reminded me it happened before, and it was like, no, it had to happen, right? And then I felt like, should I move the foot? But I didn't want to be disrespectful, so I looked around, are people moving their foot? Maybe I shouldn't. And then, I felt like, okay, maybe it's my right to move it, right? My foot, it'll get damaged, but I still didn't want to, I thought, like, what if it's wrong? And so then I connected with your energies, like, because I wanted to show all that respect, right? And automatically my foot just like, it felt so fine.
All glories to Lord Vayu, who's residing in your heart.
Right.
That was amazing. Anything else?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. So I think people, when they want to do their own thing, they should just like get punched by a devotee and go out there. Because Mahadev is so wonderful. You know, like if they really feel so sure it'll work out, they should
Great.
try it
So
out.
now
out
from
there.
today you have to send your book scores every day to Brigupati Prabhu, okay? Talk is cheap, my friend. Put your money where your mouth is.
That sounds
Okay?
good.
So you can take a small book in your pocket and distribute it for part of your sadhana. Okay?
Awareness is everything, Prabhuji.
All right.
Yeah.
Just do it. Anything else from any?
Haribol.
Yeah, good. Anything from the mothers? No? All right, Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution ki Jai. Vancha kalpatarvishya, Kripasandabhyacha, Vedana Bhavani.